Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Galactic Wisdom. Okay, well, today I'm going to talk about proving things. You know, for me, throughout my entire life, there's always been two things that I'm really interested in. One of those things is reality. One of those things is morality. And they both sort of tie into each other. You can't be a moral person if you don't understand what is real, because all of our moral decisions are based on what we think is real. So reality is kind of the start of things. And a lot of people in this world today, if you look out and you see the opinions of people, the beliefs of people out there, you will see that a lot of people just don't have a clue about reality. They just don't get it. They're not able to judge what is real. They're not able to judge who is a good person, who is a bad person. They're not able to judge politicians very well. They can't tell what's good for them, what's bad for them. A lot of people's perception of reality is really warped and skewed. So I'm going to talk today a little bit about why is that? What can we do about it? And how can we make sure that we are not just experiencing reality in the same sort of fantastical, nonsensical way that we observe a lot of other people experiencing it. Assuming that we aren't impaired in any way by alcohol or drugs or tiredness or mental illness or electromagnetic fields around us, we can accept as being true or real the things that we personally ourselves witness. We can consider the mere fact that we witness something ourselves as being direct proof that what we witnessed is true or real. Because there is no deeper level of access to reality that we have than our own personal experiences. So unless we're impaired in some way, our own personal experiences, experienced with our own senses, are always the most reliable truths that any of us can have. Our eyes, our mind is a window into our reality. And when we experience something ourselves, we're looking directly at reality. So I look over there and I see a black mug, and I am experiencing a black mug, so I know that's real. Direct proof is when you experience something yourself and you think about, well, could I be impaired? No, I'm not that tired. No, I'm not that drunk. There's no big, strong electromagnetic fields around me. So I know that this mug is really here. Okay. That's direct proof. But, when other people tell you things, when you're getting your information from other people, from other sources that are not you directly witnessing something, then that is not as reliable as what you yourself perceive. Knowledge is personal. What you know, you only know if it has been proved to you through your experiences. What's interesting is a lot of people in their lives, they accept what they think is knowledge, but really it's not. It's belief. Whether you believe in a belief system that somebody else is telling you about, or you believe even in what science is telling you about if you're not a scientist. If somebody's telling you stuff and you're just accepting it as being true, that's not knowledge. Knowledge has to knowledge is personal. Otherwise, you don't know it. So one thing that we cannot do with validity is consider as being true or correct any of our interpretations about what we witness, our conclusions, assumptions, or beliefs about anything that we witness. We can't trust those. They're not part of what we witness. You might witness, okay, this is a black object here in my hand, but any interpretations about, okay, well, what might be inside it? I'm gonna guess there's coffee inside it, right? Or I'm going to guess there's hot chocolate in there because in previous shows I've talked about drinking my hot chocolate. Those are interpretations, assumptions, those are guesses, and they are not valid. You might have seen in a previous show that there's writing on this. And if I were to turn it around, I'll show you what the writing is. There you go. Mount Shasta, California. I did a few contact events there. Now, you might have assumed, if you had seen that writing in a previous show, that you knew that this mug was my Mount Shasta mug, but it didn't have to be, because it's possible for mugs to have the same color on the reverse side here and just a different logo on the front. So our assumptions, our conclusions, our interpretations, our beliefs about the things that we witness, they're no good. You can't accept those as easily. You require much deeper levels of proof that are beyond direct proof, unless you look around to the other side of the mug and you see what the logo is. So, for example, if we were to witness a non-human entity standing in front of us, we wake up in the night, we look at the foot of our bed, and there is a tall, shadowy figure standing at the foot of our bed. We've just woken up from sleep, so we have to be pretty sure we're awake first. Maybe, you really fully, make sure, yes, I'm awake. Yes, this is not a dream. But when you're convinced you're awake, if that figure is still there, you are witnessing something. But what are you witnessing? The interpretations that some people would have would be, well, that's a ghost. Probably a bad thing, because a lot of people think ghosts are bad. Those are all interpretations. But it could be like a spirit of an ancestor. That's another interpretation, and that therefore could be good. Some people might see that as an extraterrestrial, but we have no proof of the origin of this being. It's just an assumption. Some people will see a non-human entity and consider it to be an angel straight away. Maybe it's a Pleiadian or a being of light that is shining brightly and humanoid, and people will interpret it as being an angel, or swing the other way and interpret it as being a demon. And I'm quite sure through the history of human beings on this planet, a lot of people have mistaken non-human entities as being angels or demons when that's not truly what they are. So our interpretations are something we can't rely on as direct proof. That's an interpretation about what we witness. Excuse me. I find that I talk so quickly during this show. I've got so much to say. I have to force myself to stop and pause occasionally and breathe. Another thing that we cannot do with validity is accept as being true, real, or correct anything that anyone tells us. Now, a lot of people are just going to reject that statement straight away. It's like, well, you have to believe some people. No, you actually don't have to have any beliefs at all. You should not. It's an intellectual invalidity to accept as being true anything that anybody tells you. No matter how well you know someone, no matter how much you might trust someone, it's intellectually invalid to accept, solidly accept, as being true, real, or correct their words, their posts, their comments, their emails, their videos, articles, experiences, judgments, interpretations, conclusions, or beliefs. People sometimes lie. Sometimes even good people lie for reasons that they think are morally justified. Throughout history, you can see that a lot of atrocities have been committed by people who are doing bad things to people they think are bad. And they're doing those things, they think what they're doing is they're being bad to bad people for good reasons. but that's a pretty major judgment call to be making, to start inflicting punishments upon people based on your own subjective sense of morality. You're not that person. You don't know their motivations, their feelings, their instincts, or even the truth about what happened if you weren't there. Sometimes it's not so much that people are blatantly lying when they talk to you, but they're putting their own spin on things in ways that aren't completely honest. Maybe they're missing out certain truths because they want you to perceive some realities in the way that is convenient for them, and they miss out the inconvenient truths, the true aspects of a situation that will take you in a direction that they don't want you to go in. Sometimes people pass on misinformation to others without realizing it's incorrect. In politics, I'm sure that there's a lot of people, I know some of those people who are good people, but they're passing on misinformation to others about reality, the reality of the world, the reality of what's going on in the US and around the world. They pass on misinformation because they've been raised watching the wrong news channel. They've been raised watching what they think is news, but it's disinformation. And they're good people who think that what they're doing by spreading this information, they think they're helping the world, when in fact they're just being misinformed. And so they're contributing to the darkness without realizing it. Sometimes people are mistaken about what they think they witnessed, especially when they saw something briefly. You see something like that out the corner of your eye, maybe as you're driving past, and you think, oh, wow, what was that? And you saw it briefly in your mind. It's easy to misinterpret that. It's also easy to misinterpret things if there are a lot of things going on all at the same time. Like you're witnessing something interesting happening and you're watching it, but there's like 10 interesting things all happening at once, like 10 different types of aliens all standing in the same place at the same time. And then afterwards, you're trying to recollect which aliens you saw. It's very easy to make stuff up a little bit from imagination. It's like that game when you have a certain number of objects in a box and you can see it for like 3 seconds, and then you have to recount what all of the objects were. Sometimes people who are telling you things, well, when they witnessed whatever it was that they're saying that they witnessed, they were drunk or on drugs or tired or mentally unhealthy or impaired by electromagnetic fields. You know, when I do paranormal investigations or investigate experiences that people claim to have had, I go along there with my, I've got it here. I go along there with my tri-field meter here. This is the one that I use. It's quite a cool one. Here, this one is GQ EMF 390. And so I go along with this, and one of the first things that I do is I go around with this and put it in the areas where, there you go, it's got a set of different numbers on there. It's got EMF, that's electromagnetic fields, it's got radio frequencies, and it's got somewhere on there, I'm reading it backwards, it's like mirrored on my screen. You've also got the magnetic field in milligauss. I hold this close to the places where people claim to have had these experiences, because if there are strong fields in those places, well, strong electromagnetic fields can cause us to hallucinate. That's a known scientific fact. Scientists have done experiments. You know, the electrochemical impulses that go on in our brains, those bits of electricity that are moving around, those electrons can be diverted by magnetic fields, electromagnetic induction, and they can cause hallucinations. And so it's possible that when people see something, they're actually hallucinating it due to strong electromagnetic fields. So that's something people need to be careful of. Sometimes people's imagination causes them to perceive things inaccurately, especially while people are meditating or dreaming. If you're in an altered state of consciousness, then the things that come to you in your mind, they're not coming to you through your eyes, your ears, your sense of touch. It's more ethereal. It's that the senses are less evolved. It could be that there are actual paranormal or sixth senses going on that you're tuning into. But even people who are psychic have a tendency to have little bits of imagination slip in here and there. And a lot of people who do meditations, who connect with different beings and spirits, even when they meditate, they just make stuff up. And I can tell, I don't want to be criticize anybody personally, but I can usually tell based on what they say they're perceiving, whether or not what they're perceiving is real or not. Sometimes people's emotions impair their view of reality. Sometimes people's expectations impair their view of reality. If they go into an alien contact situation and they're scared, then they're more likely to experience something scary. And sometimes people's beliefs impair their view of reality. It's a bit like expectations. Sometimes when I do alien contact events, you have somebody religious come along and they see Jesus. Non-religious people don't see Jesus. A religious person comes along and they see Jesus. Their beliefs, their interpretations are coming into what they're perceiving. So accepting as being true, real, or correct anything that anyone says is intellectually and logically invalid. So this is not a moral issue of whether or not you should trust a person or have faith in them. Like if you have a partner and your partner comes and tells you that they saw something, no matter how well you know them, no matter how much you've sort of built up a trust in your partner, it's not a matter of you should, as a moral thing, trust that person or have faith in them. It's not an issue of morality. This is an issue of black and white mathematics, of how you perceive, how you can prove something or not. This also is not an egocentric issue about how good you are at judging the honesty or the reliability of others. It always astonishes me that when there's like two sides to an argument, the first person to tell somebody their side of the argument, that is the person who is believed. And then it's like there's a bias towards the first person to tell you their side of the story. And if there's emotion involved, like if the person is upset, that gives more bias to favor that person who's upset. And people are not good at judging the honesty of others. This is not an issue of morality. It's not an issue of how good you are at judging the character of somebody else. This is an issue of logic and intellectually correct thinking. It's a matter of fact that nothing that any person tells you is proof of anything other than the fact that they've just told you something. So if somebody tells you that they saw an alien, that's certainly evidence that they saw an alien, but it's not proof that they did. If someone tells you that they were an alien in a past life, as some people believe, that's evidence that they might have been an alien in a past life, but it's not proof that they were. If someone tells you that they saw a particular person doing a particular thing, that's evidence that a particular person did a particular thing, but it's not proof that they did. As human beings, we are astonishingly susceptible to accepting as being true, real, or correct the things that people say to us, even when those things are complete nonsense. Look at what people believe out there in the world of politics. People so blatantly lying to everybody and half of the population of the country just accept those things as being true. They believe them, even though that what they're saying is objectively, clearly disinformation or blatant lies or manipulation. Human beings are so easily manipulated into believing things that aren't true. And then after they've been manipulated into believing those things, then they're manipulated to do something. Like it could be you're manipulated into giving somebody money. It could be an advert, or trying to sell you a certain product. It could be a politician trying to get you to give them money, or it could be that somebody is trying to manipulate you into hating on somebody, being mean to somebody. And that's a very dangerous thing. You can't always know who's trying to manipulate you, but you can generally know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing based on what they're trying to manipulate you to do. If you think that a good person is trying to manipulate you to be bad to somebody, that's when you want to take a step back. Because it could come across like a good person is trying to manipulate you to do something bad for good reasons to somebody else who's bad, for example. But if they're trying to manipulate you to do something bad to anybody, whoa, stop. That's the message you should be paying attention to. And it even goes the other way. Some people will say that person's bad because they're trying to manipulate me to do something. But if the thing that they're trying to manipulate you to do is something good, like being nice to people, how is that person bad? Think about what you're being manipulated to do. That's really what should matter. So a lot of people are exploited because they've been manipulated by lies, and a lot of people are manipulated. That a lot of people are recruited to unknowingly perpetuate darkness. If we are to ascend, if we are to become as moral as is practically possible, and if we're to enter into our neighboring interstellar, interspecies, interdimensional communities of different beings, then we have to recognize and overcome our natural human instincts to accept as being true the things that people tell us. Whichever side of whichever argument you're on, like, for example, politics, whether you're on this side or on this side, you've got to see that half of the population is believing something entirely different to you. So at least, or approximately half of the population is not seeing reality correctly. That's not a good figure, whichever side of the arguments you're on. That doesn't show that human beings are very good at being able to tell what is true and what is real. So, as I've already said, if we aren't impaired by alcohol, drugs, tiredness, mental illness, or strong electromagnetic fields, we can accept as being true the things that we ourselves personally witness. Oh, I think I might be having a small earthquake here. We can consider the mere fact that we witnessed something ourselves as being direct proof. This is what I'm calling direct proof, where you witness something yourselves. But what about the things that we don't or we didn't witness ourselves? Are those things just not provable? Are those things just not knowable? Well, sometimes yes and sometimes no. Indirect proofs can sometimes be obtained, but they're not as quick and they're not as easy. A chain of evidence needs to be established. You've probably heard people talking about a line of evidence. Well, literally, there can be one piece of evidence that connects to another piece of evidence that connects to another piece of evidence that connects to another piece of evidence. A chain of evidence needs to be established. And the only way that you can prove anything in there yourself, so that you can know it to be true, is if that chain of evidence starts, the first thing in that chain of evidence starts with you yourself directly proving something. You can't know a chain of evidence to be true unless you can prove at least one key part of that chain of evidence. And because then everything links together, then you can prove everything down the chain. Great competence is required with the use of logic to use the evidence that you are able to directly prove to indirectly prove something else. Let me give you an example of first direct proof and then indirect proof. And this is important because this is how we build up our picture of reality. Here's an example of direct proof. You were with a person who was eating grapes. You watched them very carefully and very closely and looked a little bit strange watching them so intently. And you counted, as you were watching them, that they ate 12 grapes. Now, because you personally witnessed that occurrence and you were counting as they were eating, it was directly proved to you that the person ate 12 grapes. Okay, that's direct proof. Here's an example of indirect proof. A person claims to have eaten 4 plums while they were in a certain room. But you weren't in that room at that time while they claim to have been eating plums. So you're unable to directly prove their claim. However, with a lot of time and effort, you're able to track down a security video that was taken in that room that clearly shows the person eating 4 plums in that room. So that's pretty good. But you know what? Videos can be faked. So you've got a piece of evidence there that links to the claim that person made of eating the 4 plums, but you still need to prove something personally. So what you do is you personally go and you analyze the camera, you analyze the video recording, and you utilize your own specialized knowledge of video cameras, video editing, and video files to directly prove to yourself that the recording is genuine and unedited. And in that way, you're able to prove that piece of evidence. That's direct proof. You witness the reality of those video files being unedited and taken at the right time and in the right place on the device. You're able to prove that they're real, and therefore you're able to prove down the chain of evidence that, yes, that person ate 4 plums. You can prove it, even though you weren't there. That's what indirect proof is. Now, human beings are naturally fairly good at directly proving things, because all we need to do to prove something is to see it. But when it comes to aspects of reality that are not easily seen, because there's a range of different reasons why we might not be able to directly see something. When it comes to situations like the things are in different locations, like stars or galaxies, or they're on completely different scales, like our galaxy, or on a small scale, like viruses. Or the thing we're trying to prove is something that happened at a completely different time, like at the start of the universe, like the Big Bang or the formation of the Earth, something like that. Or if the thing you're trying to prove happened to somebody else and not to you, like somebody claims to be a victim, or somebody is being accused of something and you're not them, then human beings are really not naturally very good at indirectly proving things. And we know that to be true because if we look at the situations I just gave you throughout history and see, what people used to think stars were. They used to think they were gods, or they were crystals, glowing crystals that were stuck to a crystal dome in the sky. Nobody realized back then that those stars were just like our sun, just a long way off. And that was widely a common mistake that everybody made for hundreds of thousands of years. When it comes to viruses, we know historically, and in today's world still, people don't get viruses. People don't get viruses, they don't get vaccines, they don't get things on a small scale. In the past, the way that manifested itself into our societies was often if somebody got ill from a virus, people took that as being dark magic and or witchcraft, and people have been killed in their thousands in the past by people thinking that viruses were given to somebody via witchcraft. We're not very good judging things that we can't see directly. Things going on at different times. You know, what we consider to be true about our history on this planet and a history before this planet and this solar system, scientifically, what we consider to be true today, what we've proved to be true today, it was only 200 or 300 years ago, well, probably less than that, 100 years ago, and still today, that a lot of people on this planet reject all of those timescales and the things that happened in the past because they go against their beliefs, and they prefer their beliefs over reality. Over entertaining the possibility of reality, of looking into what is real. And so we know that our species, and we're the same species that we were 100,000 years ago, there's not really any significant change. We are the same species. We know throughout history that our species is not very good at indirectly proving things. We still aren't. Look at the world today. We still are not very good at judging reality and the morality of others. Why is this? Well, indirectly proving things is significantly harder than directly proving things. Indirectly proving things does require a lot more time and effort and energy. Indirect proofs are immediate. I see it. I know it's true. But indirectly proving something, that takes a little bit of time and energy, sometimes a lot of time and energy. Sometimes it's people's jobs, detectives going out there, scientists going out there trying to figure out reality. That's a full-time occupation. Stringing together lines of evidence and trying to prove them. Often indirect proof requires the use of complicated mathematics. Often it requires the use of advanced university-level scientific understanding and knowledge. Often in a court of law, scientists, experts are brought in specialized areas for DNA testing and things like that. And also we utilize those things in the study of the paranormal and paranormal investigations. Like I said, I've like my EVP meter here, my tri-field meter, that's science. If you don't understand what electromagnetic fields are, if you don't understand the three different detecting fields that this will detect, well, it's interesting to use these, but it doesn't really help you understand reality much. What else have I got down here? I've got here, this is cool. This can clip to a belt. It's like clip to a utility belt. This is a Geiger-Müller tube. Oop, I just did it up. This detects radiation, not electromagnetic radiation, but actual radiation, alpha particles, beta particles, and gamma rays. And this will click when a piece of radiation goes into it. Every once in a while it will click because there's natural background radiation around us. And what you can do is you can set this up to see if, well, when an alien being or a spirit comes in, what happened? Did a portal open up between realms and radiation pour through those realms into our three-dimensional realm? One thing I did with this one time, it's a bit bright here. One thing I did one time with this is at a contact event, I had this out and I asked our alien friends to bring their craft above us. And when that happened, this stopped clicking. This was pointing up and it stopped because the craft was blocking, at least that's my interpretation, the craft was blocking the cosmic rays coming down from space. So indirect proofs are not easy. They often require an intellectual understanding of logic also, and they require a high level of proficiency at using it. A lot of people don't understand logic. If people don't have a logical mind, then they will make illogical statements thinking that they're being logical. They just don't understand logic. Some people will say, well, a flower is beautiful, therefore God made it. And they think that's logical. Well, that's reasonable. There's a reason for them thinking, arriving at that conclusion, but it's not logical. It's not like an infallible argument. Logic is an infallible argument. Logic is making deductions that have to be correct, that can't not be correct. So indirect proofs require logic. They, as I said before, they require the direct proving of at least one key piece of evidence at the start of your evidence or proof chain. Because no knowledge can be your knowledge unless you personally prove at least one key element of it directly to yourself. So if you listen to scientists telling you stuff, or politicians telling you stuff, or your friends telling you stuff, and you just accept that as being true without yourself personally proving any part of it, then that's not knowledge. That's a belief that you're taking on, even if you're listening to scientists. Now, fortunately, I'm a scientist. I went to university. I got a first-class honors degree in physics with space science and technology. I continued into research. I was utilizing X-ray space telescopes to examine extragalactic X-ray sources. I'm not a bad scientist. So I can watch the science news, and I already have my personal proof of the science. Science isn't just learning a lot of stuff that isn't proved. Science is learning about electrons, and then, well, how do we prove that electrons are real? Well, let's do some experiments to prove that electrons are real. Now let's do an experiment to prove to ourselves what the charge on an electron is, the electric charge. And I've done all that. So I've got that foundation of personal proof and personal knowledge that the rest of my scientific understanding can sit on top of, like the chain of evidence. But a lot of people don't have any personal knowledge or proof of anything that they accept as true and real in the world today. Even if they had a science education in high school, most people can't remember any of it. And it's not that high level anyway. Now, the process of indirectly proving things has been formalized in the scientific method. That's what the scientific method is. It's a process of determining truths and knowledge about reality. Some people don't get science. Some people just consider science to be like another belief system. It's like, well, I believe in Christianity or whatever religion. You believe in science. Who's to tell what's right and what's wrong? Well, no, they don't get it. Science is not just another belief system. Science is a system that has been proved by utilizing a higher level of thinking than just direct proof or believing things. Science is a system that is based on the logical, indirect proving of things to ascertain truths that have been verified, that are verified, that can't not be as they are. I'm talking about established science. That's a bit different. Well, it's very, very different from the science that politicians will tell you. They don't explain things to you. When the COVID thing happened a few years ago, no politicians were standing up and trying to teach you the science of anything. No politicians were saying, come into our schools and we will teach you step by step what a virus is, what a vaccine is, how masks work. There was none of that. It was just you've got to believe me. Okay, well, this side is saying, you've got to believe me. This side is saying, you can't believe them, you've got to believe us instead. But it's all just belief. That's why our societies are so divided, is because nobody bothered to stop and say, well, this is how we can prove reality. Science is a great accomplishment for humanity because it has provided an advanced, intellectually correct structure for indirectly proving things. But as I've said, science is not easy and it's not quick. And the mathematics that science utilizes is not easy or quick. So where does that leave most regular people who haven't learned advanced mathematics, advanced physics, and advanced logic? Does that mean they just can't understand reality? What is that the implication here? I am going to answer that question in a minute. But before I do, I'd like to prepare everyone who's watching me now for a possible moment of enlightenment. For a possible moment of enlightenment that might lead to a possible moment of ascension. However, what I'm just about to tell people also has the potential to be rejected by some people as an insult. Like, I am insulting you by saying what I'm just about to say. All I can tell you is my intention is not to insult or upset anybody. And I'm going to sincerely apologize in advance to anybody who is listening to me who feels insulted or upset by my words. I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm trying to do good here. It's my conviction that it's okay for us all to have different beliefs, as long as we're able to get along with each other peacefully. No matter what you people believe out there, if you sit down in the same room with me, I will be peaceful with you. And I hope we can all be peaceful with each other, regardless of the things that you say, regardless of the things that I say. What I'm trying to do is simply point out truths about reality to people that might enable humanity to evolve or ascend to higher levels of thinking and higher levels of morality. I'm trying to help the world. So I'm going to ask this question again, and it will start off sounding a little bit negative probably, but then I will transition from the negative to, well, this might sound negative, but actually this is liberating. And what can we do with it? What can we do that's positive? So my question was, if the process of indirectly proving things often requires advanced mathematics, advanced physics, and advanced logic, where does that leave most regular people who haven't learned advanced mathematics, physics, or logic? The answer to that is it leaves them without the ability to indirectly prove a lot of things. It leaves them without the ability to know a lot of things. I'm going to take a sip of water here. How can anybody who hasn't worked through the mathematics of quantum mechanics truly understand quantum mechanics, or know it to be correct, or know whether it proves the existence of parallel universes and other things? I so much in social media, I see a post that says quantum mechanics proves that there is life after death. No, it doesn't. Where's my quantum mechanics books? I've got my quantum mechanics book down here. There we go. See, I went to university and I learned quantum mechanics. You see, I've gone through this stuff and I know what quantum mechanics proves, and no, it doesn't prove that. Now, life after death is real. I've had that proved to me directly in other ways, but quantum mechanics doesn't prove it. How can anyone who hasn't worked through the mathematics of relativity truly understand relativity, or know it to be correct, or know whether it proves statements like time is meaningless? Sometimes when I start talking about time, somebody who knows absolutely nothing about time at all says, but time is meaningless. That statement is incorrect. They don't know anything about time at all. That's just like a copy and paste belief that people have, and they throw in these copy and paste beliefs into conversations in ways that kill the conversation dead, because it's a belief. You can't, go any further with that, but it's completely incorrect. Time is not meaningless. It's just more complicated than a lot of people understand. How can anyone who hasn't fully how can anyone who doesn't understand electromagnetic fields really know if what they're perceiving is a hallucination or not, caused by strong electromagnetic fields? A lot of people sleep with their heads close to a wall. And what's inside walls? Electricity cables, electrical cables. And you take one of these up to the wall where your head is. And, I've done that in paranormal investigations where small children people of any age have been sleeping with their head against a wall and experiencing nighttime terrors and things. And I put this up to the wall, and it's like, well, look at that. You're sleeping in a really strong electromagnetic field. It's no wonder you're hallucinating. That's not to say that spirits and ghosts and aliens aren't real, because you can get other kinds of proof for that. But sometimes they're not real. But you need to learn science in order that you can deduce, well, what is actually happening there. A lot of people use scientific words like energy and frequency. Frequency is like the in word, vibrations and frequency and energy and resonance, to explain their whole belief system. And then you ask them to define what frequency is. Most people don't have a clue. So many people use incorrect science, incomplete or incorrect or inadequate use of science in order to explain their beliefs. And they don't know any of it. They don't know any of it. It's all belief. I know quantum hypnotherapist practitioners who you say, well, what does the word quantum mean? They're like, it's quantum physics, quantum mechanics. Yeah, but what does the word quantum mean? They have no idea what the word quantum even means. They haven't learned quantum mechanics. They've never worked through the mathematics of it. It's a belief system to them with scientific words. Most people on this planet do not hold within them the mathematical skills, the scientific knowledge or understanding of logic that is required to indirectly prove a lot of things, to know a lot of things. And so most people on this planet simply adopt the intellectually invalid default of trusting people or believing things about reality. The perception of reality that most human beings have on this planet is based on some easy, correct, direct proofs, which, yes, are true, but then a lot of invalid, incorrect beliefs. Humans are a belief-based species, and we always have been. And it's easy to see how we've been a belief-based species in the past when you look back far enough and you find people, Egyptians believing in gods that we today don't believe in. Medieval people believing in gods like Woden and Thor, who today we don't believe in. I don't think most people believe in Thor. But we're doing the same thing today. We're just different names, different stories. Humans are a belief-based species. The perception that most beings have of their own comprehension of reality is largely incorrect. Most people believe that their view of reality is correct, but that's not knowledge. That hasn't been proved, and that's not correct. I look around at what people believe in the world today, and I feel like I'm on the wrong planet. I am I'm living on a planet of people. Oh my goodness. I just had my friends show up. Thank you for being here with me. Big change of air pressure there. What I'm talking about here is not particularly fun, but let me move it into a direction that is nicer. Instead of trusting people and harboring beliefs, we have an opportunity to ascend. We can ascend to a higher level we can be much wiser, more advanced. We can make a more ascended choice of recognizing and accepting and knowing what we don't know. If something hasn't been proved to us, we don't know it. Just accept that. Just accept it. Don't accept it as being true. Accept it as a theory, a guess, a possibility, something that, based on your experience, is probably true, but don't know it when you don't have the knowledge. That's a choice that that is absolutely within the intellectual grasp of anybody who's watching this show. Accepting what we don't know is a choice of humility. It's a choice of recognizing one's own limitations and choosing to ascend in the ways that are both possible and valuable to us. Ideally, people would go out there and learn science, but we can't expect that of people because our society doesn't make it easy to learn science. It's expensive and we don't have time. So I'm not trying to push for everybody to do that. Our alien friends do not expect or require us to learn advanced mathematics or science. What they are encouraging us to do, and what I'm encouraging people to do on this show, is to choose to stop believing in things. Belief is invalid. It's invalid. It's like saying 2 + 2 = 5. It's wrong. We can choose to know what we don't know. We can stop saying things to people if we don't know those things to be true. Don't push your disinformation and misinformation and lack of understanding onto others, especially if it's related to things that are dangerous. I don't have time to go into details, but a lot of mistruths, a lot of fallacies that people spread are dangerous. Stop trying to judge each other. We don't have what it takes to indirectly prove things. Even courts of law, they don't operate on proof. They operate on more likely than not, or beyond a reasonable doubt. That's not proving anything. Place peace at the top of our list of priorities. It's that is so simple. Don't let anything be more important than putting peace before everything else. Extend unconditional love to all conscious beings. That's a tough sell, because all conscious beings, all animals, all people, all beings out there, no matter who they are, no matter how much we dislike them, unconditional love. That's not an easy thing for human beings. Never harm any conscious beings to the extent that's practically possible. We have to walk across the grass. Insects are going to get smushed, but you can choose not to harm beings if we can possibly avoid that. And learn how to live in harmony with as many of the conscious beings in this universe as is practically possible. I am just about at the end of this show. I am going on tour just in a few days. And if you're going to be in any of these places, then either email me at the email address at the bottom of that image, or join my Patreon group, and you can get to come and hang out and do contact events with me and connect with people and non-human entities in peace, in love. I wish you all peace, love, and happiness. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Goodbye for now.